Welcome to Veranda IAS. In today's current affairs session, in the subject Geography and Disaster Management, we will be dealing with the topic Section 51 of Disaster Management Act 2005. So, the learning objective of today's LU is to analyze the Disaster Management Act, that is DM Act 2005, to examine the DM Act 2005 and why it is in use, to discuss the Section 51 of DM Act 2005, and to outline the main features of DM Act 2005. Let's move into the LU. And the DM Act was passed by the Indian government in 2005 for the effective management of disasters and other related problems. It did, however, take effect in January 2006. So, what is the need of this DM Act 2005? In the year 2004, we have witnessed a great, massive natural disaster, which is the tsunami, which has happened in the Indian Ocean region. So, India at the time had struggled a lot to cope up with this disaster. So, in the aftermath of this event, the government has come up with an idea of passing a legislation which is called as the Disaster Management Act. So, what are the protocols which need to be passed during an event of a disaster and natural disaster? So, what are the steps to be taken? What is the steps to be taken before and aftermath of an event? So, everything was invoked in this DM Act of 2005. So, that is why it was created in the year 2005 and eventually it take effect from the year 2006. In the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic in the year 2020, it was invoked for the first time in the country. So, even though it was started operationalizing from the year 2006, for the first time after the COVID outbreak, it was invoked in the country in the year 2020. In the center, through the Prime Minister's National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, used this act provision to simplify the pandemic's management, allowing district magistrates to make decisions and centralizing other choices on oxygen delivery and vehicle mobility. So, this NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority, is actually usually headed by Prime Minister. So, it has an executive committee, NEC, which comprises of ministers of various secretary level offices. So, secretary level bureaucrats will be the executive committee of this NDMA. Further, this NDMA recently in the aftermath of COVID-19 has used the act provision to simplify the pandemic's management. So, how it is done? It actually devolved the power to the district magistrates, to the district collectors, so that they can actually analyze the situation, assess the situation, and they can pass order on their own. So, this power was actually given to these district magistrates. So, in what case it was used for oxygen delivery? What we have experienced is that there was a large scale oxygen demand in the country. So, hence the center cannot be able to oversee all the districts in the country. So, the district management also cannot go and ask the center for all the needs time by time during such an large scale event. So, that is why this power was given to the district magistrates. Further, let us see why this DM Act 2005 is in use. So, in June 2021, the Home Ministry issued a show cause notice for previous Chief Secretary of West Bengal under Section 51 of DM Act 2005. So, why it was issued? Because the notice was given for failing to attend the Prime Minister's review meeting on Cyclone Yash, which hit Bengal's Kalaikunda region as directed by the center. So, the center has arranged for a review meeting to discuss about the situation prevailing in the aftermath of an event, that is the Cyclone Yash, and the Chief Secretary at the time of West Bengal has not attended that meeting. So, that is why the Section 51 of this DM Act was invoked against him. Section 51B of the DM Act 2005 is violated by this Act. So, since he has not attended the meeting, so this Act was actually invoked. So, let us see about this DM Act 2005 in use further. the show cause notice was delivered under the provisions of DM Act, which is under the purview of Home Ministry, despite the fact that the Department of Personnel and Training (DOPT) is the cadre controlling authority of Indian Administrative Services officers, that is IAS officers. So usually the Department of Personnel and Training, they actually recruit the persons who serve as bureaucrats in India, but this act will come under the Home Ministry. Eventually, because of this, the Home Ministry has delivered this notice, the section 51B of this DM Act. So eventually the bureaucrat must comply by this order, because in this case the order of Home Ministry will prevail over the bureaucrats. Further, let us see about the section 51 of this DM Act. It obstructs any officer or employee of the central government or state government or any person authorized by the national authority, state authority or district authority from carrying out his or her duties under this act, or refuses to comply with any direction issued by on behalf of the central government or state government, the national executive committee, the state executive committee or the district authority under this act. So any direction which is given to any persons who work under the government of India, so if they didn't follow the instruction given to them, then section 51 of that act can be invoked against him, and that what happened in case of West Bengal's previous chief secretary. Further, what is the punishment to, with regarding to the complaints of this section 51? So shall be punished by imprisonment for a time not exceeding 1 year, or by a fine, or by a both. So either an imprisonment not exceeding 1 year can be given, or a fine can be issued against him, or both can be issued against in worst cases. Also, in failure to comply with the directive results in death or immediate risk of death, shall punished by an imprisonment of a term not exceeding by 2 years. So if the person, the officer who had not followed these directions, so because of that, if there is any loss to lives, so because of that any death had happened, then he will be punished up to 2 years, not exceeding 2 years. Fine. So let's see about the main features of this DM Act 2005 in general. So the Ministry of Home Affairs is designated as the nodal ministry for comprehensive national DM under the Act. So institutional framework. So at the national, state and district levels, it establishes a systematic structure of institution. So not only it was a top-down approach, it was also a bottom-up approach act, which was actually designed in such a manner so that it also has SDMA, the State Disaster Management Authority, which is headed by Chief Minister of that particular state. So the section 14 of this DM Act actually conveys this establishment of this SDMA. Further, there is also DDMA, which is headed by the district magistrate, usually or in DC, district collector. So it was established by section 25 of this act, section 25 of DM Act. So it was headed by DM or DC. So in case of an event which happened in the district, then this committee actually will take responsible, and if a state has suffered, then the SDMA will take responsible. If it is a national wide event, then the NDMA will take responsible for the event. Further, let's discuss about the finance. It includes provision for funding methods such as emergency response funds, the National Disaster Response Fund, and the comparably funds at the state and district level. So there will be Contingency Fund of India, CFI, which was discharged by the President. So in event of a natural disaster, the President usually use this fund, the Contingency Fund of India. Contingency Fund of India, not Consolidated Fund of India, it is Contingency Fund of India, which can be used by the President in event of a national disaster. Further, the main features of the DM Act, the liabilities in civil and criminal matters. Several parts of the Act are devoted to different civil and criminal obligations that may arise as a result of violation of the Act's provision. So that's all with respect to this LU. In this LU, we have discussed about the Disaster Management Act of 2005 and the DM Act 2005 and why it is in use as of now, and the section 51 of DM Act, and also we have discussed further sections such as section 14, section 25 of DM Act. We have also discussed about the main features of the DM Act, what is NDMA, so what is SDMA, what is DDMA, everything we have discussed. So that's all for today's LU, and have a nice day. Thank you.